Welcome to 30 for 30. This is Marvin Nash. I am the host, the founder, and the presenter for this iCoach Presents 30 for 30 podcast videocast project. I have with me today Coach PJ Gibbs, a New Jersey native, but a Florida coach and a guy who has a brilliant defensive mind. I've got to know him a little bit over the past few weeks, a great guy to talk to, and I'm just excited about this. Coach, welcome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me. This is going to be great. It's going to be good stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's first start. How'd you get down to Florida? How'd that become the place where you coach?
Well, it started with, I coached in New Jersey for 14 years, and I was at my alma mater and at Manasquan High School, which is right on the beach in New Jersey. And I got married, and my wife and I bought our first house, and started having a family, and we just. The Northeast is extremely expensive to live. I'm teaching, and she's working from home, and we have two small kids. And my brother-in-law, Justin Kramer, who's actually at Southeast Missouri State now. At the time, he was a defensive analyst at the University of Missouri for Coach Pinkel when they were in the SEC championship game. That's when he was there, and he was recruiting the West Coast of Florida in Collier County. So he reached out to me and said, "Hey, listen, I know you're not thinking about moving, but there's like 7 high schools in the county, and they're all looking for coaches and teachers." So my certificate in New Jersey is reciprocal, and New Jersey certificate is reciprocal in every state but Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania makes you take the test. Every other state, you pay the state money, and they'll give the certificate, to go down there. So I did it, and my wife and I had talked about it, and my wife had went to Clemson, so she was a big fan of South Carolina, and we started looking at North Carolina. I actually had a job offer there, and I had a couple job offers in South Carolina, and then I put my resume down here to about 6 high schools, and we came down. My in-laws had moved down 2 years prior, and we came down for Easter, and I went on the interviews. I got offered 2 jobs, and came back, and my wife and I were sitting there with my in-laws, and I said, "Are you ready to do this?" Because I said I got these are solid. This job is solid. Like it's done if we want it. So she's like, "Yep." So we went back, put our house on the market, sold our house in 10 days. Which was kind of a whirlwind for us. It was like Memorial Day weekend, having a yard sale, and one of the coolest things about it was I got a whole lot of support from guys that I coach with in New Jersey, and I remember getting a text from Steve Antonucci, who's the head coach of Middletown South High School, and he texted me. He's like, "I want to wish you luck." He goes, "You're really living the dream." He's like, "So many guys in our area talk about doing what you're doing, but you're actually doing it." And, I took that as just a great compliment, because, Steve has had so much success. They've won 10 state championships, and I've known him for a long time. And so that's kind of what got me down to Gulf Coast High School. I was hired as the defensive coordinator down there. And then 3 years later, I was hired at Palmetto Ridge, where I'm currently at now. And it's only a 10-minute difference, down the street. So, that's how we got down.
Fantastic. Man, you touched on some things there as far as making that journey. It takes a great leap of faith to skip over a few states and just, move. It takes a strong family dynamic, an understanding wife. Can you talk about some of the courage to go live your dream? Because that's exactly what you're doing.
I think you hit it on the head. I mean, my wife has been, fantastic. And I know I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you, we went through some rough patches down here. But her and I, we call each other Team Gibbs. We make it work, and we communicate. And she's great part about her is that she's a true football wife, and she loves the sport. She loves watching on TV. When Clemson's on, sometimes I have to leave the room because she's very into it. But I think for me as a man, I looked at it as a move for my family. I could have been selfish and said, "No, I'm staying at Manasquan, and we're going to have to, sell our house and go rent." But, at the end of the day, when you have a wife and kids, it's like, what's the best for them? And again, my kids are 8 and 6 now, and, we go outside every day. Every day we're outside, either riding a bike or walking or throwing the football or playing in the backyard. Like, to me, it's you're making the decision for the quality of life. I mean, football is football, right? You and I were just talking about your facilities and stuff like that, and we have pretty good facilities at our school. obviously not up to the level you guys are at. But, football's football. You get to be around kids and make them better people. But, for me, it was a decision. It was like I was really becoming, I was growing up because I was making the decision for our family rather than for myself. And it's been great. I mean, again, we've been through some rough patches, over the last, we'll be down here in July. We'll be down here for 5 years. So, it's been great, and I can't say enough about her support, and both our family support it's been awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There's nothing like having a strong, true coach's wife there on your team. It makes our job so much easier. Absolutely.
Oh, no doubt.
Now, I know the news has been crazy here lately. First, we go to spring break and we never go back. That was shocking in itself. And then just the events that happened thereafter. It just seems that there's something, either there's more happening now, or maybe we're just a little more sensitive to it since we're at home and we're a captive audience. How are you guys dealing with all of the issues that are happening?
Well, we're as a coaching staff, I think we've done a really good job of getting speakers to talk to our team and our coaching staff to understand kind of from a different perspective. Last night we had Ron Bellamy, who's the head coach at West Bloomfield High School in Michigan, and Ron played for the Wolverines and he played for the Dolphins and the Lions. And Napoleon Sykes, who coached at the Naval Academy, played at Wake Forest, and he was just with the Defenders in the XFL. So, kind of like you and I were talking in the pre-interview, I can't relate to thoughts of our kids on our team that are African-American because I'm not. So I'm not going to try to blow smoke, and pretend I understand what they're going through. Where just like with football, like if I don't understand a pressure, I'm not going to just make something up. I'm going to go to the source and find out, how I can get help. So, I think it's I think we've done a really, really good job. Monday night, I were talking. I got a hold of Ryan Clark, who's the former Steelers defensive back, and he's currently on ESPN. So he's going to talk with our coaching staff and our team as well, and get another perspective for our kids. But I think it's all about education. I think, and again, I'm a history teacher. So, this will be something that will be in the history books down the road, no doubt. I think you really have to spend time and have those tough conversations because they're going to be uncomfortable. They're going to be uncomfortable because, again, we have our team is made up of so many different ethnicities and financial backgrounds, and the kid that lives in the gated community is not going to understand what the kids living in with six to eight people in a 2-bedroom rental down the street from the high school. They're just not going to get it because they don't, or the kids that are the free and reduced lunch kids. And again, I think the more that we can be proactive and have those tough discussions, I think the better off we'll be. And like I said, I think we've done a pretty good job of leading from the front and giving the kids the opportunity to, talk to these different people. We Zoomed with Antonio Cromartie. We Zoomed with Aaron Moorhead from the Eagles. I got Chef Robert Irvine from the Food Network on to Zoom with our kids on leadership. And he's a former Navy SEAL in England. That a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people just see him on Food Network because he's this jack dude, right?
Yeah.
But he was a former Navy SEAL, and I brought him on to talk to our kids about leadership. And it was great, to have our kids listen to him. And people are just willing, and I think a lot of this, trying to think of the right word to use. I guess like the outpouring of feelings. I think a lot of it has to do with people being in their houses due to the COVID, because, now it gives them a reason to come out, but there's a right and a wrong way to come out, as far as, you and I were talking about the constitutional rights. I think it was 8 kids go down to protest the other day, which I was fine with. You're in America. There are so many people around the world that want to be able to have those constitutional rights and be able to vote or register to vote when they turn 18. And that's one thing I teaching government and economics and obviously U.S. history, that's one thing that I really, really stress, especially when we go through like the Reconstruction amendments post-Civil War, kind of build it up to how we got to this point and then get to the 1960s and make sure I talk about how turbulent the 60s was. Because, to be honest with you, other than the last couple of months, you look at the 1960s, that's the most turbulent decade in the history of our country. Because you have a major war, you have major political assassinations, you have people speaking out against the war, and then you have people coming home from the war and being treated bad because they were drafted and they did what they were supposed to do, but you had a lot of opposition because of President Johnson and everything going on, and then you had the civil rights movement on top of everything of that. So I love to spend like 2 weeks on that stuff and answer questions. And again, if I can't answer a question, I'm going to find somebody to come into class to talk to the kids about it, because that means they're inquisitive. They want to be educated. And that's our job as educators is to teach. And if we don't know something, well, I'm going to go find somebody that does so they can talk to the kids. So going back to the original part of your question, I think we've done a very good job of giving our kids the opportunity to hear different people and different stories that they may be able to relate to, or something that they think about. So I'm really proud of our staff's effort, going forward.
That's fantastic. The biggest thing that I believe will create change is being able to have those open conversations. And then somewhere along the line, I don't know which generation did it, but we lost the art of listening. We failed to listen to understand and just listen more to reply. And when replies without hearing an argument go back and forth, it just becomes an argument. There's no solution to it. So I think that's fantastic that you're getting different perspectives, speaking to your kids. And, there's no doubt that you're hearing different things, and the kids are hearing different things. And we're creating dialogue, things that can help our kids deal with the situation at hand.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, I think the art of listening, I think, I saw a quote the other day, about your family dynamic starts at the dinner table. I think Ronald Reagan said that in the early part of the 80s. I think we're in a situation now in our society where, you have both parents working, or you have a situation where they're living with grandma, or they're living with, or whatever. And I think that's where us as football coaches, that's why I think a lot of people look at us and what we're doing, because we are the father figure for a lot of these kids. And I think the listening part, I think a lot of it has to do with social media, because I think the kids are so invested in what's going on social media. And like I tell our kids all the time, I was like, you got to understand something. When you hit send, that toothpaste don't go back in the tube. That's out. It's out there. So you have to really watch what, and when you like or retweet something, that's basically like you sending it out there anyway.
Yes.
So like, I think that the more information and the more conversations that we can have as a society, and not just make generalizations or assumptions about people. I think remember the Titans got to be watched by every football team in the country. Like if that movie doesn't speak to, and again, our kids don't know the busing situation that goes on in the beginning of that movie, the segregation of busing where everything had been integrated prior. We don't know that, like our kids don't understand that they were on different buses, and then all of a sudden they regionalized the school district, and boom, now they're all coming together now this is Virginia now. This ain't like Mississippi or Louisiana. You're talking mid-Atlantic region, not like deep South. So,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I think the more conversations you can have and letting kids talk, when we get back together as a team, it's not going to be a coach directed. It's going to be a coach prompted discussion, but it's going to be a player led discussion, and I think that's where some of the stuff is going to be hard for kids, but I think it's a difficult thing that has to be done, because that's when change happens. You look at it throughout history, how have we had change? Well, you look at the post-Civil War Reconstruction amendments. Civil War happened. We had the different amendments, and then you had the women's movement in the early 1900s. women get the right to vote. You know, you have the civil rights movement in the beginning of the 1960s. We get the Civil Rights Act in the middle of the 1960s. So, you know what I mean? So there's positives that come out of this. It's just, you know, unfortunately for what we're seeing today, you know, we have a lot of media outlets that like to highlight the negative. And I think that's where a lot of our kids get misled because of the negative. And, you know, that's why we have to have the hard conversations, you know, at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I believe you train your mind just like you train your body or anything else. If you feed it negativity, you're going to get a negative result. And the benefit of what you guys are doing, which I commend 100%, is that you're getting positive speakers of all walks of life coming in and explaining an experience and making sure there's no misunderstanding. We see enough negative in those images that our kids are engulfed in. So I think it's kudos to you guys for doing the positive work to help your kids cope with what's happening. It's fantastic.
No, absolutely, man. No, and like I said, this profession is all about servant leadership, right? We're not doing it for the money. You know, it's about, you know, I got asked, you know, doing a bunch of these Zoom clinics over the quarantine period, and I got asked one question by a coach, and what's your biggest success as a coach? You know, and I could say, like, you know, winning championships in multiple states. I could say, you know, winning three international bowl championships in a row for USA football. You know, but you know, the proudest thing for me, to be honest with you, is, you know, the kids that I've coached that have gone on to do things like, you know, I bring in this kid's name, Connor Grogan. Connor Grogan played defensive back for us. He went to Princeton. Connor was like brilliant, and he went to Princeton. Which was weird. He got into Princeton but got waitlisted at Notre Dame. We could never figure that out with Connor. So he went and played, and he became our family's financial advisor for my kids for their college fund.
That's brilliant.
You know what I mean? So to me, that's one of my biggest successes, that I could take one of my former players and trust them with my kids' stuff.
That's awesome.
And, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, championships come and go, man. Like, again, we're all competitors. We all want to win, but like, you know, what is a kid going to be doing 10 years from when they graduate? Mm-hmm. That to me is how you measure a success of you as a coach in your football program. What are they contributing to society? You know what I mean? So that's like, you know, because you do these things, right? And I know you've done a bunch too. It's like they want you to say, like, oh man, this kid played in the NFL, and you know, I had this, you know, I got all these rings, and like that to me, that's materialistic. And unfortunately, that's what our society has gone to, you know, is material things, right? And showing the rings off, and like some of them look like hubcaps on some of the things. You know what I mean? Like, yes. Like when are you ever going to wear that? You know what I mean? Like, like out of those 20 seniors in 10 years, what are they doing? Are you still talking to them?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, are you still educating them? Are you still doing your job as an educator and a coach? So, and again, as you get older, you know, you become a husband and a father, like you see things a little different. You know, 21-year-old Coach Gibbs would be looking at me like I'm crazy right now, because all I do is want to win a state title and not really worry about it. But now I become a dad and, you know, husband and a father, and, you know, and you just have different perspectives on life. So, but yeah, like I said, I think to measure your success as a coach, man, it's what are those kids doing 10 or 20 years down the road? What kind of husbands and fathers are they, you know, 10 or 20 years after you're done?
Absolutely. And, you know, with the quarantine happening and Zoom all of a sudden becoming the coach's most loved asset, let's talk a little ball. Let's talk what are some things you've done during the Zoom time as far as clinics, as far as I know there's a new book out as well. Let's kind of dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, so I'll go with the clinics first, man. Like I think I was on Justin Grandinetti's clinics. I think I was on like 5. Did like 5 of them for him, and you know, Justin and I are USA football buddies, and but it was so cool that the college coaches were so like just welcoming. Like I think I Zoomed with Coach Don Brown like 4 or 5 times. Eric Shenandler from Nebraska, Jim Leonard from Wisconsin, John Patake from Miami, Wade Phillips. We got on a Zoom with Wade Phillips. we're lucky to do that. That was an awesome hour. Just listen. I could have listened to him tell stories about Reggie White for like 3 hours, man. And that was great stuff.
Absolutely.
And then like get on with Antonio Cromartie and get on with Aaron Moorhead and just it was like any clinic, right? When you go to a clinic, you want to pick up at least one thing. And that was really my goal was to try to, how can we fit this into what we're doing? And then, getting our staff involved and listen to these guys. And, so that was really cool. And then the second book, I mean, like the first book, I couldn't believe I was really taken back by the international response.
Mm-hmm.
I did coach the Japanese team in January for USA Football. So I knew there would kind of be an interest there, but I mean, like Germany, England, France, the Costa Rica, Brazil, like it was humbling. I mean, it really was. And, just kind of sitting down and getting that stuff done and really just from the perspective of it's not really the second book is a little bit more intricate. But the first one was really like just like for coaches first starting out to learn things, but also for like a coach that had been around a little while, kind of pick some things up, practice planning, building relationships, because obviously that is more important than ever right now, with everything going on. And then, kind of piggybacking into the second book. And, I reached out to a bunch of my colleagues to contribute. And the cool thing is all of them didn't hesitate. So the new book will be out June 15th. And it'll be on our nickel pressure package. It'll be on defending empty and with tight end adjustments, and then pressures out of the 4-3. And then I reached out to Eric Kaspowitz, who's the head coach of Pine Richland in PA. He's a USA Football buddy of mine. And then Adam Harvey from Hutto High School. And all three of us, we did a chapter on game planning as a defensive coordinator. So basically from Saturday film through Friday night, like what we do in our programs to get ready, who has what role, basically from like meeting one all the way through the week, how we plan our practices out. So got people that read it can see how I do things, how Adam does things, how Eric does things. And then the last chapter is building a winning culture on and off the field. And what I did with that was I took it from two different perspectives. The perspective of an overall team. So I reached out to my brother-in-law, Justin Kramer. So he wrote it from a college perspective because he had been an offensive coordinator at Missouri State the year before. And so he went through as a team. And then Jason Mons from Seguro High School in Arizona, he did the team. And then John Weaver and John Torrey and myself did it with our groups. So John did his wide receivers. John Torrey did his running backs. And then I did our black shirt defense culture. So, and the neat thing was I made a deal with those guys that when the royalty checks come from Amazon, I'm going to donate 20% of the proceeds to a charity of their choice. So every other month when the check comes in, I'll cut a check to the charity that they sent me. And so that was kind of like our deal for getting them on the book. But it's been I mean, my ADD and OCD, I can't just sit still. So I had to, my wife, she's like, "You're gonna write another one?" I was like, "Yeah, why not? I mean, what else? Homeschooling the kids for 3 to 4 hours, and then what else am I gonna do? I mean, I have our game plan for our first opponent already done. So what else am I gonna do? I can only watch so much film. But that's kind of what's been going on, man. And like I said, the college coaches were great, sending stuff and meeting with us, and that's kind of what we've been doing.
That's fantastic. I always wonder what goes into, the brainchild of creating a book. I'm actually in the process of writing one right now based on relationships and culture. And I have a working title and all that stuff, working on it now. But, it's always interesting to hear the process of from beginning to end, how that works. I appreciate you sharing that, Coach.
Yeah, no, I mean, no problem. And like I said, the easiest thing for me, honestly, from a perspective of getting it out there and publishing it is using Amazon. Because you don't deal with a third party. It's you. I mean, they take a cut, and you see when you do your pricing or whatever, you'll see what they're getting and what you're getting. Mm-hmm. But I think it's great. They did a great job, with the cover and everything. And but yeah, like if and obviously, you and I could talk again when you get things, closing towards the end. It was crazy too. Like I had my first book. I had Coach Don. I've known Coach Brown for over 15 years. He was up at UMass and Northeastern when I was coaching in New Jersey. When I was a lot younger, a lot better shape, and a lot less gray hair. So I met him when I was about 23, 24 years old, and we kind of stayed in touch. And then when I got down here, he got hired at Michigan, and then so this was his recruiting area. So him and I have kept our relationship, and we talk like once or twice a week on the phone. And he did the forward with Coach Aaron Ingram from USA Football, who's given me unbelievable opportunities, man. I think he gets tired of hearing me thank him, but I can't thank him enough for everything he's done for me. And then I got my second book, Coach Brown again, and then my linebacker coach, my freshman and sophomore year of high school, Coach Don Reed. Coach Reed's about 75 now, and he used to handwrite, and I still have him on my Google Drive. He used to handwrite scouting reports every week. So wow. What we were going to do, what their formations was, and it would identify every player, their name, position, and number, and talk about their strengths and weaknesses. And he inspired me when I started coaching, and I still do it today. I handwrite our scouting reports for
That's fantastic.
And then I got Steve Speck from San Xavier High School in Ohio, and he was Luke Kuechly's high school coach.
Okay.
So, but yes, Steve did that, and but yeah, it's an awesome sense of accomplishment when you get it done. Because there's so much that you're putting yourself out there, right? Because I mean, everything today is going to get criticized. I don't like this. I reviewed your book, and
right.
I'm writing it because I want to write it. It's going to help somebody. It may not help you, but it's going to help. It's going to help somebody. So, but I'm telling you, man, when you get it done and you hit that final click to push everything through. It's going to be great.
Outstanding. Thank you, Coach. And yeah, we'll definitely be in touch because I'll pick your brain a little bit more about some of that.
Absolutely.
Here is in listening to these great relationships that you've made over the years. Tell me, and I hate to limit it to one, but tell me maybe the greatest piece of advice that you received as a young coach that you are utilizing now as I'll call us mature coaches now.
Well, I think for me it was my high school coach, Coach Vic Caboo. I guess two things. First of all, just from a general standpoint, he would always talk to us about you're either getting better every day or getting worse. You never say the same. So that's something I've used since I started. I mean, we heard that every day when I played for him in high school. And then when I went back and coached for him, heard it, and it was just ingrained in me. Because if you think about it, and I kind of piggyback off that. Like I tell our kids all the time, like you don't wake up to be average. Like it's easy just to roll out of bed, right, and just go and just float through your day, and then come home and do the same thing over and over again. But I would say that, and then also too, like from a defensive perspective, Coach Reed also too. Who taught me a lot. It's about fitting your personnel, your defense to your personnel, and putting your kids in the best position to be successful. Like, it was kind of weird for me because, I've been a 4-3 guy my whole life up until 2015. And then I come down to Florida and there's just dudes everywhere. I mean, New Jersey, where we played, like we'd have one guy on our schedule that was like, going to like FCS. And then maybe when we got to the playoffs, there may be an FBS guy, maybe. I mean, down here, but I mean, being in Texas, it's every week.
Yes, ridiculous.
There's 3 or 4 guys. This guy's committed to Georgia. This guy's committed to Miami. This guy's going to Florida State. It's just like, as a defensive guy, you stare at the ceiling and I'm thinking how you're going to stop, these guys. But I would say also too, like from a perspective of a defensive coach, like I evolved from a 4-3 guy to a 4-2-5 guy. And then, this past January, we put a 3 high safety defense in for the Japanese team because we were facing an RPO team. And then this year, our personnel dictates an odd front. And I've never been a base odd front in 21 years of coaching. I have never based out of an odd front, but that's what our personnel. I'm not going to make a kid an end because I'm a 4.25 and I have to have no.
Right.
You know, he's a stand-up outside linebacker, and that's what we are going to have two of them, and that's what they're going to do. So I would say, like, you know, go and learn, you know, and I would say too, Coach, like, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask for any help. You know, a lot of the relationships I have or have gotten is because I've just gotten coaches' numbers and called them and asked, like, hey, do you mind if we sit down and, you know, funny story, 2 springs ago, Brandon Streeter, who's the quarterback coach for Clemson, he recruits our area. So he comes down and, you know, he's looking at a couple of our wideouts and, you know, him and I are just talking. And I was like, man, Coach, I'd really like to get up, you know, and sit down with Coach Venables and bring a couple of our guys up for spring football. And he's like, well, we have a coaches clinic on this date and this date. And I was like, well, I said, it's going to be really hard for us to all get off that time. But our spring break is the week before. He's like, let me go back to the hotel. Let me call him. And, you know, I'll call you tonight. I said, cool, no problem. So about 8, 9 o'clock, my phone rings, Coach. I'm like, hey, Coach, what's up? He's like, can you guys do these 3 days? And I was like, I didn't even ask the other guys. I was like, I'm going. I said, I'm there. I'm boom, done. So we went up. It was great. We did a fundraiser. The Booster Club paid for our housing, paid for our gas, paid for our food. That's one of the things I talk about in my leadership stuff is fundraise like you coach. If you want to go someplace, fundraise. You know, don't blame anybody else. You know, fundraise like you coach. So yeah, and like for younger coaches, and I think we all made this mistake. Like, don't assume you know everything. You know, you and I have both been around for a little while, and you know, went through that stage of, you know, we all think we're Bill Belichick or you know, something like that, right? You know, but you know, just learn, keep learning, because the game's going to keep evolving, and if you don't evolve, you're going to get stagnant, and if you're stagnant, you're not going to be successful. Like, to me, 4 and 6 and 5 and 5 is not successful. No. You know what I mean? Like, but if you achieve that, if you overachieve, and I think a lot of that, I think a lot of that happens in our profession. We get all these outside guys, right, that want to train our kids and do all this stuff. And, you know, I think at the end of the day, you know, I think Nick Saban put it best that mediocre people don't like high achievers. And high achievers don't like to me, I'm not going to get outworked. Like I am not going to get outworked. I said, you know, you may have, you know, better dudes than us, but I'm going to make sure our kid's in the position to make a play. Now that, you know, it comes out, you know, X and O, it's like when you do the chalk war, right? It's like, you know, it's like, hey, you can draw this up, but if that dude's 6'5" and goes on the 7th floor and drops you off at the 5th, it don't matter what you drew up, you know, at that time, right? You know, so, you know, I think we see a lot of that in our profession. I think we see a lot of guys that try to overachieve but remain mediocre, and you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna, that's one of the best things about that Last Dance, right? That ended episode 7 with Michael Jordan was like, and it was great because I was sitting there with my 6-year-old son, and I'm like. You don't know who this guy is, but you're going to sit and watch this with me because this is the greatest basketball player, leader of all time. Like, you know, I'm a Jordan guy. You know, I know there's probably going to be people listening that are and LeBron's a great player. Don't get me Kobe was the second coming of Michael. Like, hands down, mannerisms, the way he talked, everything. Like, that was like watching Jordan.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But you know, and you see Michael talk about, I never asked anybody to do anything I was not willing to do. And I think that should be commandment 1 of leadership. You know, don't go out like I'm not going to ask my linebacker coach to do a drill that I never did, or at least talk to him about it and show him. You know what I mean? Like, but that's how you get the buy-in.
Exactly.
You know, that's how you get the buy-in. So I know I gave you a bunch of stuff there, but
no, some great stuff. Just to piggyback on the Last Dance, I know we were sports deprived for so long.
Oh, man, yeah.
Gosh, and so
I was tired of watching reruns of the old NFL games.
Yes, and I have this vault with all 22 film, and I watched so much of it. I was like, I need to see something for entertainment, not for studying purposes now.
Right,
and
right.
With that being, you know, that 10-part series was amazing. my two sons, 14 years old and 9 years old.
Okay.
They sat down. They never got to see it in their prime, but I got to watch MJ. I grew up in a little rural part of town. We just got cable, and one of the only channels we had was WGN. So WGN out of Chicago. So by proxy, I was a Cubs fan and I was a Bulls fan.
There you go.
That thing happened live, and reliving that with them was priceless. And so my oldest son, he's 14, but he's about 6'2" and about 170, and quite the ball player already. That's what he wants to do. I told him he doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be a heck of an outside linebacker, safety, but he still thinks he's a hooper right now. But watching that and seeing greatness just manifested right in front of you, and then seeing those leadership qualities, there was so much personal development from that. So even though I watched it for entertainment, learned so much about coaching different styles like Phil Jackson did, or, handling poor management like the whole team did. You can either be bad and throw shots at it like Jordan did, or you can just be Phil Jackson and say, I know I'm getting fired, but we're still going to win the championship. We're still going to do the very best we can do with it. Doesn't matter. Just amazing lessons.
Yeah, and I think when you watch that whole thing, one of the best parts about that was seeing Jordan start, as a leader, understanding that he can't do this himself. Mm-hmm. He had to trust Pippen, Steve Kerr, Dennis Rodman. He had a trusty. B.J. Armstrong in that first three-peat, right? John Paxson. Like he had to start trusting those guys, and I think you saw it like with Kobe and the Lakers, right? Obviously having Shaq, don't hurt either, right?
Right.
But I think if you don't have to be a vocal leader, you can lead by example. But but that's just how Michael was as a leader. And but yeah, like I said, that was great. I have that on my DVR. I can't wait to sit back and watch that whole thing again. I'm just going to do it like a binge and just start from episode 1 and go all the way through 10. Absolutely.
Well, Coach, this is the last question I'm going to ask you, and this is because I put together this 30 for 30, and it was an idea I got from a friend of mine at the University of Kansas, and I was one of his interviews. But he didn't put it together and broadcast it. But since I'm broadcasting this, I want you to properly title your 30 for 30. This is all about Coach PJ Gibbs. What would your title be?
Wow, that is oh man. 30 for 30 title. Holy moly. This might be one of the first and only times I've been speechless in my life right now. My wife would say that anyway. Man, I would say 30 for 30, let's say from the beach to the big time.
I love it. I love it.
30 for 30 from the beach to the, and to be honest with you, I really, I've learned over 20 years to be humble about stuff. It's flattering, a lot of this stuff, right? Like, coaches reaching out to you, and, it's crazy because a lot of the guys I talk to and Zoom with about the book or about defense, and they're like, hey, thank you so much. I reached out to all these guys, and that's what I told them. Like, I'm a regular guy. Like, I'll help anybody. If Zooming with me for a half hour is going to help you win a state title, I'll do it. Like, at the end of the day, man, we're all in this together. Regardless what state we're in, what high school we're at, background, ethnicity, whatever. We're all here for the same thing. We're all here to help kids and hopefully put a ring on our finger, at the end of the day. Right.
That's
so,
right.
You know what I mean? But, no, man, this is good stuff. I'm honored, that you and I got to do this, and, hopefully, we'll get back to some sense of normalcy here soon with all this stuff going on in our country. But you're doing a great job, bud. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you. It's a pleasure's all mine. I was truly honored when you said you'd come on and speak with me, because I'm just a guy running a podcast out of my home office with a fake background. So we're trying to make it work.
I got the palm trees in the back.
I'm a little jealous about that. Well, Coach Gibbs, I would love for you to let everyone know where they can find your book, where they can find you on Twitter and be able to follow you and get some insight.
Sure. So my Twitter is it's really easy. It's at Coach PJ Gibbs. And then my book, the first book, The Right Defense for Your Program, is live on Amazon. It's been live since the beginning of April, Kindle version and paperback.
Awesome.
And then volume 2 will be live on June 15th, Kindle and paperback. And again, that one is a little bit more schematically, a little bit more higher level than the first book. But I really love the last 2 chapters, getting to collaborate with those guys and, just learning from them and how they do things. I mean, Adam and Eric are tremendous defensive guys. And then, my brother-in-law being at college level for over 15 years. And then John Weaver and John Torrey. And obviously I've known Jason for the last 6 years, and he's a great guy. And so, yeah. And like I said, if anybody has any defensive questions, man, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to help.
Awesome. Well, Coach, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time. And this will go live pretty quick. And when I say I'm doing just a unedited coaches conversation, that's exactly what I mean. So it's something that will hit the airways. It'll be on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube channel, everything. So I'll make sure you're in the loop, and hopefully we can keep spreading the message that you're giving us, man. Togetherness is huge, and then always learning. You either get better or you get worse.
That's right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Take care.